Qui-Gon Jinn, one of my favorite Jedi. He was one of the finest swordsmen in the Jedi Order. He had frequent sparring practice and experience with the most talented duelists such as his mentor, Count Dooku, friend Mace Windu, the creator of a pod which harnessed dark side and light side energies, Master Yoda, and Jedi Weapon Master Anun Bondara. Jinn was a master of the fourth form of lightsaber combat, Ataru. This was the same form Yoda used and focused highly on aggressive acrobatic maneuvers. In combat, his blade work was wide and powerful, marked by heavy two-handed strikes, followed by a quick parry to cover his vulnerable spots. Despite the form's weakness to blaster fire, Jinn's mastery of Ataru was so good that he could easily defeat blaster-wielding opponents. However, in his later years as a Jedi Master, rather than engaging in the energetic acrobatics typical of most Ataru specialists, Jinn tended to stay grounded during his lightsaber duels. That being said, he remained fully capable of utilizing acrobatic attacks and maneuvers during combat if necessary. Jinn was also proficient in employing unarmed combat strikes into his lightsaber sequences. He was a very well-rounded fighter in all aspects. However, Jinn was not without weaknesses. Dooku had sparred with him plenty of times and knew every single flaw in the Ataru form. As he aged, Jinn's strength and physical ability began to diminish, and his primary edge was derived from his experience and intuition, rather than from his physical attributes. Even under ideal circumstances, Ataru was a tiring combat style to use, let alone at his age in The Phantom Menace, where he was 60 years old. His declining stamina was particularly noticeable. Despite his perfection of the form, he was still vulnerable to some of the form's flaws, namely, the weak defense and lack of effectiveness in confined spaces. All these weaknesses came into play during his final duel against Darth Maul. During the duel, Jinn saw an opportunity to redirect the fight to a small melting point in the Naboo power core. He hoped to use the confined space to his advantage by preventing Maul from using the saber staff to its full potential, giving himself the advantage. However, Maul was aware of what Jinn was attempting to accomplish and believed that the negative effects that a small place would have on his own technique were negligible compared to the effects that it would have on Jinn's. Maul allowed himself to be pushed into the melting pit room, and there, Jinn's strategy backfired as Maul had calculated. He was boxed in, forced onto the defensive from his usual offensive, and heavily fatigued from the long duel leading up to this. Qui-Gon moved to strike Maul, slow to be mindful of his longer than normal saber hilt being extremely stunned, causing the perfect opening for Maul to deliver the finishing strike.